and welcome back to my channel. My name is Con, and today I have my bestie, Nadine, here. Today I want to talk about how underrated a gap year is and to debunk any negative stereotypes that people have on it. I feel like students are always in a rush of getting to one destination to another, which is great if that's for you, but I feel like it's okay to sometimes take a breather because you're going from undergrad to tackling another monster such as optometry school. So it's okay to give yourself a little mental break, gain more experience, travel, learn a little bit more so that it can make you a better clinician and a doctor in the long run. And also it's great to have something to talk about during interviews as well, like something different that you did in your spare time. I wanted to give a shout out to our sponsor. You know, I usually don't do sponsor videos, but this is something I think is really cool, and in honor of April being National Eye Protection Awareness Month, I think this would be a good one. It's also created by UH alumni, so I wanted to talk about it. So it's called SunSnap Kids, and they are these sunglasses, and it's for kids. So what they are is that they snap onto your wrist like a bracelet. So as you know, UV light is really damaging and it can cause premature cataracts in children, retinal problems, abnormal growth and inflammation, all that stuff. So I feel like sun protection is really great, but it's really hard for kids to keep a hold on it without, you know, losing it. And so this is really cool because it folds out into a pair of sunglasses, and the ones I have right here are actually polarized, so it's even cooler. They're like this rubbery material that when you put it on your face, it won't fall off easily for kids when they're running around. So I really like that. So I hope you guys check it out. I'll put a link in my description. So today I have Nadine sharing her story on her gap year journey with us, and then after she shares that, I'm going to be answering a bunch of Instagram questions that were sent in about gap years and how to boost up your resume and all of that stuff. So without further ado, Nadine.
Hi everyone. So I went to the University of Texas at Arlington during my undergrad years, and I got a major in biology and microbiology, so I double majored. During my time as an undergrad, I did do some basic research, and I'm mentioning research because after I graduated, I continued doing research for a little longer. I had decided by the end of that year that I wanted to take a gap year. I wasn't ready to necessarily start going on to grad school because I was still kind of trying to figure out what my plan was, what my financial situation was going to be. So I was like, I'm going to take a year off. And I said I wanted to still be productive. So I continued being in the lab that I was in even after graduation, and I performed some experiments, and then my mentor or my professor told me that if I was able to help out with a few experiments, then I could get my name on some published papers, and I did. I got 2 publications that I was a co-author in, so that obviously helped with the resume, and I liked it a lot. I liked research a lot. I wanted to stay there longer, but when it came down to reality, I knew I needed to find a way to help me with making some money so I could be ready when I moved out of home. So I decided I was going to start looking for a job, and I wasn't necessarily looking for a job that was in my specific future career path. I didn't say, oh, I have to be an optometrist technician or anything necessarily related to that. I wanted a job that made good money, and I knew with my degree, since I actually got a degree double major, I'd be able to find a job and perform something in that field. So I was applying while I was still kind of finishing off what I needed to in research. I got rejected. I got some interviews, didn't get callbacks, so I used there's a company called retake, and they actually help you find a job. So if you're looking for jobs and you can't find any, retake will kind of look at your resume and they'll help you, and they'll like tell you, hey, these people are looking for a job. I sent you up for an interview. Go and have like an interview with them and see what they say.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's really cool.
It's very helpful. So
what kind of jobs are you talking about?
Any job.
Any job?
Yeah,
okay.
They'll look at what degree you have, and then they'll go and help you.
Oh, okay, so it's not just like a healthcare field kind of thing. Okay, that's cool.
So they helped me, and I finally got a job. They offered me a job, and I accepted it. So I told my professor, hey, you know, I'm going to start working. And so we ended it in a good way. I got my names on the paper. So I started working. This was a full-time job. It was 5 days a week. But while I was working, I decided, you know what, I could use the weekends to kind of spend time looking into something that is related to my career. So I decided I would go to the nearest Walmart neighborhood, and I found the optometrist working there, and I asked him, hey, can I shadow, can I volunteer? I just want to get better insight on what's going on. And he was like, yeah, for sure. So I would go every Saturday because they were closed on Sundays. And I would shadow him. I'd help out the front desk. All of this was volunteering. I didn't really ask for a job to work there on Saturdays. But I got lucky because one of the front desk girls, she got pregnant and she had to leave for a little bit. So the doctor was like, hey, do you want to work for me on Saturdays? And because it's a busy day too. And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. So I was getting paid on Saturdays too from the doctor, and he still let me go in and he still let me shadow him. So I was like, well, this is great. Like, I'm getting the clinical experience too while working and making some money all during this gap year of mine. So through that experience, I did learn a lot. It helped me. It encouraged me to continue wanting to do optometry. And I thought it was a great experience. I did have some breaks, holidays. I kind of spent time with my family, went out a little bit. And it was just a refresher. It was just a great feeling that, like, I don't have to worry about studying right now. I don't have to stay stressed. I didn't study during the summer. You would think that, oh, you could study and you know, get ahead, but I didn't do that. I never thought about it. I was just tired.
Yeah, it's okay, like perfectly fine. That's like exactly what I mentioned earlier. It's like so great just to take like a mental health kind of thing where you just relax for a little bit just to reset your brain.
Yeah. Then you're just ready to jump into it. So that was kind of like a summary of how I finished school, went on, but during that time I was able to get stuff kind of checked off my list.
Yeah. So when did you start studying for the OAT? Or when did you decide that you wanted to pursue optometry and then you're going to now study for the OAT?
So kind of just through maybe my second and third year, I was like, okay, I want to do optometry in my undergrad year. So I decided, like, during my fourth year, I would try to study because I didn't have to take many hours after that. So I was like, I'm going to study and I'm going to take it. So I was fortunate enough to take the OAT the first time and then just do it in my fourth year and be done with it. But I do recommend that if you haven't taken the OAT and you are done, I would study and focus on that first. Don't worry about getting a job at the moment. Focus on your OAT, study it really, really well, because when you want to go to optometry school, the first thing they're going to look at is your OAT score and your GPA. Doesn't matter if you have on your resume a job or experience being in a clinical office. Like, that helps, but the first two factors are going to be your score and your GPA. So if you haven't taken your OAT, focus on that. It's not a big deal about getting a job or whatever. And then when you're done with the OAT, then you can start planning what you want. And you don't even have to work. You can actually just go out and have fun. I wouldn't say, oh, you have to stay and work. I would say kind of enjoy your time if you know that you're capable, you have money, you have everything set up for the future, and you just want to break. So
no, that's great. Completely second that, because I think that's really good. Like, once you finish your, I think a lot of people either take a gap year is if they want a break from school, or they want to take a gap year because they want to better themselves as an applicant. All right, so now we're going to be answering some Instagram questions that you guys sent in. So the first question is, do you recommend working during your gap year?
So I do. But I mean, I work, but that's because I was looking for a way to make some income. I think if you need some money, it wouldn't hurt to always get that money yourself, especially by working for it. But if you have money, if you don't need to work, go and have fun and travel if you need to.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah. For that, I personally think that if you need it for your resume, if you need that little extra oomph, like, you know, working at a lab like you did to do some extra research, or even just helping out at a lab, or getting an extra job, you know, at an optometry clinic so you can have more to talk about during your interview, that's perfectly fine too. Do it if you need to, but it's not a big deal if you don't. If you already have everything ready to go, then you don't need to work. Next question is, do you know any optometry services trip abroad?
Okay, so I know of one called Bosch, and basically they say that you can help go on trips somewhere internationally to help people who need some eye care. I specifically didn't get into this, but I did read up on it, and they said that you'd have to find a way to pay for your own trip, find a place for you to stay. Like, you're independent at that point. Like, you would be with the organization, but they are not going to sponsor you. They're not going to help pay for anything. So you would have to do that. So I didn't do that personally, but I think if somebody wants to go out and see the world and kind of have that experience, it's a good opportunity.
And I think that with being any mission trips over the summer, you can do any of that and they'll all look good, and you can still get the experience of helping all around the world. And I will say, yeah, like, a lot of them, I think you have to pay for yourself for the majority of them. I don't know any on the top of my head that pays for you. Would it look terrible if I took a month off working in the field to travel? No! gain some life experience. That's honestly, you can talk about that during your interview, and they ask you what you did during your gap year. You can say that you worked, you studied, and also you had a little fun, because there's nothing wrong with that at all. How did you stay motivated during your gap year?
Interesting question. Well, okay, so I knew that I wanted to go into optometry because I was like, okay, this job is great, but I'm gonna tell y'all the truth. When you start working, if you're not really into the job, you start getting bored. You start kind of getting like, I want to leave. And that's what happened to me. I was getting really sick of the job, and it was tiring me. I mean, the job, if I didn't have anything else, I would have stuck through. But to me, I was like, my goal isn't to, get a higher position, get paid more later on. My goal is optometry. And so I was getting bored from the job. And so that encouraged me and kind of motivated me to continue wanting to go into optometry and school, because I wanted to go back to school at that point. I kind of missed studying. It kind of sounds weird, but when you start a job, in my opinion, in my experience, and you're just sick of it, you're like, oh, I miss those days that I was studying. I didn't have to worry.
Do you regret that now?
Well, right now I'm like, okay, I'm ready to actually get a job in my career. Because
we're over school, guys.
It's too much. It's too much. But at the time, you can ask my parents, I was like, I'm tired of this. I'd get home, I would be tired. I would be like, this isn't even what I'm wanting, but I'm needing the money, so I sucked up through it. But I think partially that was what motivated me, is the fact that I wasn't not interested in the job I was doing. I was more interested in kind of working with the eye care. And so I had a goal set. Also going to the clinic every Saturday, I just kept seeing new patients with the doctor, or seeing how he was treating them, and the different takes on that and the different experiences, and that just kind of kept me motivated too.
Does having a job related to optometry and other activities boost your application? Wow, I read that so slowly. This is such a small font, I can't see. Oh my gosh, I'm only 23 and I'm turning to presbyop. No. I'm just kidding. It's actually a really small font. Okay, does having a job related to optometry and other activities boost your application? I would say it does, because obviously if you're applying to optometry school and you had no experience of working in the field, how would that show that you want to be an optometrist, whether that be shadowing or working in a clinic or just working in optical in general. I feel like having that background gives you something to talk about, and it shows where your passion stems from, because if you, like I said, I don't know how you can spin that if you've never had any exposure to the optometry field.
Yeah.
What are things that you can do to make yourself look good besides working as an optometric technician?
For sure, volunteering. It always looks good to volunteer. I think it would make people feel really good to help out. You have a little more free time in a gap year, at least on the weekends and after work time. So volunteering is helpful. I think doing research is actually really cool, whether it's basic or clinical. Clinical is probably preferred, just because you might be able to get more hands-on, specifically related to eye care. But I thought basic research is also really neat, and it's not hard to get into research. Well, I take that back. It can be hard. But the way I did it was I went and I reached out to a professor and I emailed him. And
That's how you do it.
Yeah. You just kind of reach out and you're like, hey, I'm interested in doing some research. And look up their stuff. They have websites. If you're at a university, look them up on the webpage. And they're going to have a research page. And it's going to mention all of the stuff that they're doing in their background. Learn up on it a little bit. Kind of read up on it. That way when you present yourself to the professor, you email them, you can say, hey, I read this about you and what you're doing in your lab, and I'm really interested. And I'm studying this and this and this, and I feel like I might be able to contribute. And it's just voluntary, because I don't think professors necessarily want to pay undergrads unless there's a research fellowship. But if you get into the lab, you might be able to apply for that later on as an undergrad. So I would reach out and try to be like, hey, I'm really interested, and can I just at least observe if I can't do any experiments? And that would really help your
yeah,
as well.
I think when I was a sophomore in college, I did reach out to a lab, like you said. I just messaged her and I was like, hey, I have some extra time. Is it okay if I come in? The first week or two, I was just doing basic lab work. I didn't even do any research. I was basically filling pipettes.
Yeah.
But yeah, right. But the longer you work for them, the more hands-on things they'll give you, and the more research projects you get to do as well. For me, you were talking about clinical research, and I love clinical research. So my senior year of college, I did a clinical research for Texas children. So that one you had to apply for. But that was honestly one of the best experiences ever, because I personally really like talking to patients, and I like research where I'm constantly I'm seeing patients, I'm walking around, I'm moving around. I felt like that was more me, because when I did the lab research, I felt like I was bored. And I didn't like, you're stuck. Yeah. You're literally stuck. Yeah. You're sitting in one bench, because I'm not sure how your lab was. With my lab, it was kind of like a big lab. Everyone had their own section, and you just sit there. Yeah. And I couldn't do that. That was one of the reasons why, like, if I had stayed longer, they were giving me more and more projects. But for me, I felt like I was being suffocated, because that wasn't me.
Right.
So if you want to do different types of research, there's also, like, there's more to just lab. You can do clinical if that's more you. But there's just so many things that you can do. Do you recommend taking a gap year to retake classes at a community college or post-bac program? I say yes, because like I said, like we were saying, like the most important thing are just your GPA and your OET score. If your GPA isn't very good, this is the perfect time to retake those classes to boost them up. And doing a post-bac, like a master's, they look at your GPA from there too, and that's another chance for you to show them that, hey, I messed up during undergrad, but now I've changed and I've gotten better. So that's really good. Okay, so this person asked about primary and secondary application. I'm not sure if you mean like applications in general or part of a gap year. So primary application, you do your application through Optocast or whatever they call it now, and then you input all your information such as your extracurricular, your grades, your GPA, and all that stuff. And then every school has a different primary application. So they ask for like different essays about yourself and like different things. And so after you send in your primary application and they read your essays and they learn more about you and they like you, they'll send you, I'm not sure about other schools because I only applied to UHCO, but UHCO sent you a secondary application, which is like a $50 fee. And then you write a little bit more about yourself. And then once you get that secondary application, they'll bring you in for an interview. So I'm not sure how it is for other schools. Like I said, I only applied to one. But that secondary application show that they're interested in you and they want to get to know you a little bit more before they invite you for an interview.
I think there are some schools that have their secondary application on their website.
Oh, okay.
I think you can do it and send it, but there's a chance like they won't even look at it if they're not interested in the primary application. So some schools may not send you the secondary. So I would be on the lookout and see like if they have it already, just do it and send it after doing the primary.
All right, well, that's all I have today. I want to say thank you, Nadine, for coming over and filming this video with me. I hope you guys enjoy. Go ahead and subscribe and thumbs up and follow my Instagram because I've been posting so much on there lately.
Very useful.
Yeah. All right, have a good day.
Bye.
All right, let's